Can you even imagine a world you've never actually seen? No light, no colors, no faces, just an endless, unchanging darkness. Today, we're going to dive into the story of a man who knew nothing else, and the day his entire world was turned upside down.
I mean, that one line just says it all, doesn't it? It wasn't just that he couldn't see. His whole life was defined by what wasn't there. A world where the things we take for granted were completely and totally unknown.
All right, so to really get the power of the miracle, we first have to understand the sheer depth of the darkness he was living in every single day.
And this part is so crucial. It's not like he lost his sight. No, he never had it in the first place. He had no memory of light to hold on to, not even a concept of what he was missing. From his very first breath, darkness was his one and only reality.
Just try to put yourself in his shoes for a second. He could feel the sun's warmth for sure, but he'd never seen it. He'd never looked up at the huge, open sky or seen the comforting smile on a loved one's face. His whole world was built on what he could hear, touch, and smell. That's it.
And as if the physical darkness wasn't bad enough, he was also living in this social darkness. See, back in his time, a condition like his was seen as a punishment from God, a sign that he, or maybe his parents, had committed some terrible sin. So he wasn't just in the dark, he was a total outcast.
You can just imagine it, right? In those quiet moments, that's the question that must have just echoed in his heart. A raw cry of despair against a fate he never asked for and just couldn't understand. It's a question born from some serious suffering.
But then, on what probably felt like just another ordinary day, a new voice, a new presence shows up in town. And this arrival, well, it was a total game changer.
Word had been spreading about this man, Jesus. Stories of incredible healings, miracles that just defied all logic. And for the very first time, a sound other than pity or judgment reached the blind man's ears. It was the sound of possibility.
The crowd, of course, immediately saw him through that same old lens of judgment. Their question wasn't about compassion, it was about finding someone to blame. They just saw him as a kind of theological puzzle that needed to be solved.
But Jesus' response, wow, it just completely shatters their worldview. He reframes this man's entire life. It's not a punishment for the past, he says, but a canvas for a future miracle. The man wasn't a problem to be explained. He was an opportunity for grace to show up.
And what happens next isn't some instant fix. Nope. Instead, Jesus gives a really strange, almost bizarre instruction. It puts the man right at a crossroads, where he has to make a critical choice.
I mean, can you imagine how strange and confusing this must have been? He couldn't see what was happening. He could only feel this coarse mix of dirt and spit being smeared on his eyelids. A simple, earthy, and, let's be honest, a deeply unconventional move.
The instruction itself was simple, but the journey, not so much. He had to make his way through a town he only knew by touch and sound, with mud caked on his eyes, on his way to one specific pool.
So you gotta wonder what was going through his mind. On one side, there's gotta be doubt. This whole thing is weird, he could face yet another crushing disappointment, or even be publicly humiliated. But on the other side, there's belief. For the first time, someone had offered him a different kind of answer, a real spark of hope. And really, what did he have to lose?
And he made his choice. He got up and he started to walk. Every single step was an act of faith, a shuffle toward an uncertain future, fueled by nothing more than that tiny, fragile flicker of hope in his heart.
And this brings us right to the climax of this incredible story. This is the end of his journey of faith. This is the moment where absolutely everything changes.
He finally makes it. He gets to the pool of Siloam, and he takes the final steps of his obedience. He reaches the water, he kneels down, and he washes away the mud, just like he was told.
And then, something happens. A faint glimmer. The very first sensation of light he has ever known.
That glimmer sharpens. Vague outlines, they start to form out of the blackness.
And then, just a torrent of information his brain has never had to process before. The world just explodes into vibrant, unimaginable color.
That feeling, it must have been indescribable. Just pure shock, overwhelming joy, and the release of a lifetime of pain, all exploding out in two simple words. People were just stunned. Was it really him? Some of them doubted, but his testimony, it was so powerful and so simple you couldn't deny it.
It cut through all the debate and all the confusion with a profound truth.
But look, as absolutely amazing as the physical miracle was, the story doesn't end there. The real transformation, well, that went much, much deeper.
The real takeaway here is that getting his physical sight back was just the start. His whole world, his faith, his very understanding of God, it was all reborn. This story is such a great reminder that the biggest miracles, they often happen in our hearts. That sometimes we're blind, not in our eyes, but in our hope. And it proves that one single step of faith is all it can take to turn a lifetime of darkness into brilliant, glorious light.
So that leaves us with a final thought. This story isn't just something that happened 2,000 years ago. It asks a question of all of us, right here, today. What darkness are we living in, and who or what is just waiting for one step of faith from us?